On December 19th, 2025, a court looked at the largest pay package any employee had ever received in human history and fined the man who got it exactly $1. 4 months later, that same man held an estimated net worth larger than the entire economy of most countries on Earth. This is the story of a founder fired from his own company while on his honeymoon. A CEO who on Christmas Eve of 2008 had invested every dollar he had left and still had to borrow money from friends for rent. A man who survived the edge and built something the financial system had never seen before. The question is not what he did, it's how he got there. Most people read that story and moved on. The ones who understood it got richer. Here is the problem most people face. You were taught that working hard, earning a good salary, saving, and investing in a diversified portfolio is the path to wealth. That's not wrong for building comfort, but it's a different game from building extreme wealth. Extreme wealth doesn't come from income, it comes from ownership. And that distinction is rarely taught in school and rarely explained at work because most careers are built around steady paychecks, not equity. Musk didn't reach an estimated $1 trillion net worth because he worked harder than everyone else. He got there because he understood ownership earlier and more completely than almost anyone around him. Let's start at the beginning. In 1984, a 12-year-old in Pretoria, South Africa, taught himself to code from a manual. No class, no teacher. He built a simple space shooting game called Blastar and sold the source code to a computer magazine for $500. Most people tell this story as proof he was gifted. The real signal is different. He didn't just learn a skill, he monetized it immediately. Built it, owned it, sold it. That instinct stayed with him for 40 years. Fast forward to 1999. He sold his first real company, Zip2, a digital city directory for newspapers, to Compaq for $307 million. His 7% stake, $22 million. He was 27. 3 years later, PayPal sold to eBay for $1.5 billion. He held 11.72%. His share, roughly $176 million. He didn't earn that by working harder in October of 2002. He earned it because his name was on a piece of paper that said he owned part of something, and someone else agreed it was worth billions. A salary pays for your hours. Equity pays for your ownership. One has a ceiling, the other doesn't. Now here's where most people would stop. $176 million at 31. Most people secure that, diversify it, protect it. Musk split nearly all of it 3 ways. $100 million into SpaceX, aiming to colonize Mars. $70 million into Tesla, which hadn't delivered a single car yet. $10 million into Solar City. No safety net. In his own words, he put in all the money he had, didn't own a house, and had to borrow from friends to pay rent. By 2008, both bets were dying at once. SpaceX had budgeted for exactly 3 rocket launches. All 3 failed. At Tesla, the financial crisis had frozen every source of capital, and the company was days from missing payroll. On September 28, 2008, SpaceX attempted its 4th and final launch. If it failed, the company closed, and the Tesla funding round likely went with it. The Falcon 1 reached orbit, the first privately developed liquid-fueled rocket in history to do so. Weeks later, NASA awarded SpaceX a $1.6 billion contract. On Christmas Eve, the Tesla round closed at 6 in the evening, the last hour of the last possible day. 3 days from bankruptcy, in his own words, when it finally went through. This wasn't strategy. This was survival at the edge. So here's the sharper question. If you survive Christmas Eve 2008 with nothing left, what turns that into an estimated $1 trillion 18 years later? It's not hustle. It's not one lucky launch. It's something most people never get access to. A private price tag, set in a room the rest of the world was never invited into. Once you see how that number gets built, the next 18 years stop looking like luck. When Musk invested $6.5 million into Tesla in 2004, he didn't take a salary. He took ownership, about 23% of the company. That stake had no fixed value. It depended entirely on what Tesla would become. By 2020, Tesla joined the S&P 500. Trillions in passive index funds were forced to buy the stock at once. Between 2019 and 2021, the share price went from roughly $50 to nearly $900. Here's what most people misunderstand. No cash entered his account. The market simply decided Tesla was worth more. And because he owned hundreds of millions of shares, his estimated net worth grew by hundreds of billions on paper. He confirmed it himself in February 2026. His net worth is almost entirely his ownership stakes in Tesla and SpaceX, with less than 0.1% in cash. At over $1 trillion, that's less than roughly a billion in liquid money. SpaceX pushed this further. It's woven into American national security infrastructure. NASA, the Defense Department, the Space Force all depend on it, and that dependency lowers investor risk. Then Starlink added something SpaceX never had. By 2026, over 10 million paying subscribers, and recurring revenue, the market price is far higher than hardware sales alone. SpaceX didn't trade on any exchange for 2 decades, yet by 2025, it carried an estimated private valuation near $800 billion, set by a small number of investors in deals the rest of the world never voted on. In February 2026, SpaceX combined with xAI, his AI company, valuing the combination at $1.25 trillion, anchoring the number months before the public could even participate. On June 12, 2026, SpaceX debuted on the NASDAQ at $135 a share. By the intraday high that first session, the market cap touched roughly $2.2 trillion. Bloomberg attributed about $274 billion in single-day gains to the repricing of his stake alone. His estimated net worth crossed $1 trillion. Now, that $1 fine from the opening? In January 2024, a Delaware court canceled his 2018 Tesla pay package entirely, ruling it had been structured unfairly. It had originally been worth about $56 billion. His estimated net worth fell by hundreds of billions overnight. On December 19, 2025, the Delaware Supreme Court reversed that ruling. The formal penalty? $1 in nominal damages. At that week's stock price, the reinstated package was worth roughly $139 billion. $1 fine, $139 billion prize. That's the hidden architecture. The fine is the headline. The structure underneath it is the actual story. Here's the actual lesson. Musk didn't build this by earning more. He built it by owning more, by understanding that ownership compounds in ways income can't. Salary is a lease. You trade time for money, and when you stop, the money stops. Equity is a purchase. You own part of something that can grow without you. And when someone prices it, your net worth reflects that, whether or not a dollar enters your account. You don't need a rocket company. Next time you're offered a raise, ask if part of it can be equity. Next time you build something, ask who owns the output. Most people spend their lives on the salary side of this, without ever seeing the ownership side exist. The door was never locked, it was just never pointed out. Next time you hear his net worth dropped $200 billion in a single year, which actually happened in 2022 when Tesla stock fell more than 65%, remember why. That number was never cash, it was belief, repriced. He didn't build a vault, he built companies and let the market price what he owned. The real wealth was never the number, it's the machine behind it. Most people will never see that architecture. The ones who do, stop calling it luck and start calling it the plan. Follow Merry Wealth Theory before the algorithm decides you don't need to see the next one.